I made this big gelatin plate 6 months ago, and of course I filmed the whole process. I was thrilled to show you how easy and affordable it can be. But to be honest, while it's true that I made this gel plate on a budget, it wasn't that easy. I ran into a few problems during the process and I wanted to solve them before releasing this video. Well, I finally figured it all out and here we are. In today's episode of Every Makes, I'll share my experiences from the past 12 months and the recipe I use to make the best long-lasting gelatin plates without worrying about it going bad. Plus, I'll take you through a step-by-step demo on how to create your own mold that also works as a stable base while printing. Welcome back to Every Makes. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm on a mission finding creative ways to make cool stuff on a budget. But why did I even bother making a gelatin plate myself when I could just buy one almost anywhere? For this, let's dive into the pros and cons of a DIY gel plate. A homemade gelatin plate costs only a fraction of a commercial one. And since I tend to switch up my creative obsessions every 2 weeks, I figured I'd rather keep my money in my pocket than spend it on something I might lose interest in. Plus, I already had all ingredients on hand, so I decided to make my own and test the waters. If you accidentally break your plate, you can fix it in no time. Just do the size you prefer. Okay, let's see the cons. There are none. Honestly, considering the massive price savings, I don't see any real downsides. Maybe there are 2 tiny little drawbacks. A DIY gel plate is never completely transparent. It always has a slightly yellowish tint. But this isn't a downer for me, as even commercial gel plates tend to turn yellow over time. A DIY gel plate shrinks depending on your climate and how much this bothers you. Your plate might need an occasional refresh. And I'll explain exactly how to do this a little later in this video. My first gel plate was only about 17 by 17 centimeters. I had an old aluminum tray in my cupboard and the ingredients were just enough to fill it. The gel plate was ready to use within a few hours and I started printing right away. And what can I say? It was love at first print. I've been hooked ever since. I quickly realized that I needed a bigger plate, so I made one after another, each time slightly larger. My largest plate at the time was made using this container, but it quickly felt too small. I knew I wanted a gel plate with at least 50 centimeters on one side, but I had no idea where to get a mold that size. I mean, the bottom surface needed to be completely smooth, as that's crucial for the printing. One day, while browsing a thrift store, inspiration struck. I found an old IKEA picture frame and thought, hey, this is perfect. If I glue the glass plate to the wooden frame, I don't only have a mold, but also have a stable base for printing. Unfortunately, the glass shattered while I was still in the store, which was really frustrating. I almost scrapped the whole project. But then I found a glass something. I guess it's a stove cover. And this glass something that happened to be the same size as a frame. I was so excited that I bought both for only $5 and got straight to work. Over time, I ran into a few issues, which I won't go into now because that would take too long. In short, the gel plate was a huge success, but the process to get there was too time-consuming, and I knew there had to be a better, easier way. And since I quickly realized that this big square format didn't really suit me, I decided to revisit this picture frame as a mold idea. This second attempt went smoothly and was much quicker and easier. However, I'd only recommend this picture frame method for larger gel plates because you do have to invest some time in making the mold. For smaller sizes up to A4, or if you are completely new to gel plate printing, I'd recommend using containers from the home goods section. There are plenty of suitable options available. To make filming easier, I intentionally chose a slightly smaller frame for this demonstration. This frame will give me a gel plate with dimensions of 29 by 39 centimeters, just slightly smaller than A3, which is ideal since I can use standard A3 copying paper for printing. Now I'll show you how to transform the frame into a dual-purpose tool. A mold and storage container, and a stable base for printing. If you don't want the base option, the process is even quicker and easier. Just skip a few steps and follow the instructions shown on screen. Get a picture frame in your desired gel plate size. For this project you need a frame where the glass sits in the back. The depth should be at least 1.2 centimeters. The larger the plate, the thicker it should be, so you'll need a deeper frame. Remove the small metal clips and the hanging hardware. If you only want to use the frame as a mold and not as a base, leave the metal clips in place. Remove the backing paper and mat. You can set the mat aside for another project. It's not needed here. Take out the glass plate and put it somewhere safe for now. Glue the glass plate to the frame using acrylic or silicone sealant. I used acrylic because it's easier to clean and I had it on hand. Apply it generously to ensure a watertight seal. Then place the glass back into the frame and press it down firmly, but not too hard. Some of the silicone or acrylic should remain between the glass and the frame to bond the pieces together. Don't worry if excess sealant squeezes out, you can clean it up easily. The excess on the front will be removed after it dried. For the mold-only version, add the paper back into the frame for a cleaner look. Place the backing panel back into the frame and secure it by bending the metal clips back into place. For the base version, my original plan was to cover the backing panel with adhesive foil to make it look nice and create a better surface for the gel plate. However, I noticed that the backing panel was too dusty and crumbly, so the foil wouldn't stick well. Instead, I lightly sanded it and applied 2 thin coats of acrylic paint on both sides. Once the paint is dry, place the backing panel back into the frame. Secure it with thin adhesive tape all around the edges. Press it down firmly. It's okay if the tape isn't perfectly flat. Small wrinkles won't affect functionality. Now it's time to add the adhesive foil as I had originally planned. Cut a piece slightly larger than the panel so you can wrap it around the edges. It's not a big deal if there are a few wrinkles on the sides. The most important part is the surface where the gel plate will sit. That should be as smooth as possible. Remove any excess acrylic or silicone. For this, you first carefully cut along the edges with a craft knife or X-Acto knife. Then rub off the remaining sealant. And voila, it's done! The recipe that has given me the best results so far couldn't be simpler. You only need 4 ingredients: gelatin, water, glycerin and isopropyl alcohol. I take 15 grams of gelatin for every 100 milliliter of liquid, and the liquid is divided as follows: 50% water, 25% alcohol and 25% glycerin. Okay, but stop here. I had a really hard time with all those measurements, with the imperial and the metric system, and I don't want to dive deeper into that. Even though I like math and I love calculations, I could do calculations all day long. But I also know that's quite a rare hobby for artists. And I've seen it happen more than once that some people don't even start this project because the conversion seemed too complicated. So I came up with something really cool, and who knows, maybe it's just what you need. First I thought, wouldn't it be cool to give you some kind of Google sheet to calculate everything? And before I knew it, my brain went off the rails. Because you know what's even cooler? To have a real online calculator. One that lets you choose between imperial or metric, type in your desired size for the gel plate, and instantly get the exact amounts you need. That idea got me so excited that I actually did it. It's crazy, right? I'm beyond thrilled to introduce you to the gel plate recipe calculator. And this is how it works. Choose your preferred measurement system. Enter the size of your gel plate. Boom! You get all the correct measurements instantly. And the best part, it's completely free. Honestly, I'm happy if you are happy. I had an absolute blast solving that puzzle, and the dopamine rush was priceless. But if you feel like supporting me, you can always send a little thank you via Ko-fi. And please, please, don't do this if it doesn't feel right for you. Oh, and speaking of that, liking this video and subscribing really helps me out as a small creator. Just saying. Okay, now back to the gel plate making. Let me show you how I mix the ingredients and pour the plate. First I measure all ingredients, then I let the gelatin bloom by adding it to the water and letting it sit for about 5 minutes. After this, I add the glycerin and alcohol, stir it well, and microwave it for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then I check if everything is fully dissolved and pour the mixture into the mold. Make sure your mold is level. Then it's time to be patient. The colder the room, the faster the gel plate will set. I recommend waiting at least 6 hours, but overnight is even better. Don't use a sharp knife to release the gel plate from the mold. If needed at all, use a palette knife or another blunt tool. But most of the time the gel plate comes out easily without any tools. And that's it. Now you know my favorite gel plate recipe. But there's still one question remaining. How should you store your DIY gel plate? Even though the recipe includes glycerin and alcohol, which help making the plate long-lasting, I don't recommend storing it in an airtight container. In very rare cases, especially when the gel plate is freshly poured and quite moist, this could lead to mold growth. Instead, store the plate with a little ventilation. I do it myself. I have one plate that I cover with a plastic bag, and I poke some holes in the plastic bag, and this is just fine. So it doesn't need more ventilation than that. So if you have a container with a little loose lid, that's perfect. The new gel plate I just poured for this video, I only put a glass plate on top, and it will stay perfectly fine for months. There is no need for refrigeration. But as mentioned earlier in this video, when stored with ventilation, the plate will gradually lose water and shrink. But this is no problem at all. I'll show you why. Whenever I feel like my plate has gotten too small, I simply refresh it. I give it a deep clean. For this, I use baby wipes or even hold it underneath running water and wash off all the leftover paint. Then I cut the plate into small pieces. I add back the lost water, microwave everything for 3 to 5 minutes, and finally I pour it back into the mold, sometimes with a strainer in between. And that's it. Good as new, ready for months of excellent printing. There's no need to add extra alcohol or glycerin. And if you damage your plate, just follow the same process. Though, depending on the moisture level, you might not need to add water. That's for today. I thank you so much for watching, and till next time.